Good morning, everybody. This is Son of Ogu. Today I'm dropping some explosive game on Papa Legba. See, I want to introduce you, if you've never met him, to the great Loa Papa Legba. What are some of the things I could tell you about him and, of course, those born under this sign? Well, before I get started, one thing I will say is Papa Legba comes in many forms. And basically, he could be young, he could be a middle-aged man, or he could be the wise, peace-loving elder that everybody seems to associate him with. At the end of the day, there's still a common theme that doesn't really deal with good or bad or good or evil. It is that he's usually wise, kind of a know-it-all type of guy, and he also is innocent. When I say innocent, I don't mean like, oh, he's just a peaceful lamb. No. I mean that everything he does it from the truth of his heart. So if he goes to kill somebody, he did it because that's how he really felt. And it really wasn't a sinister or a deeper plan behind it. He was just really motivated from the truth, coming right from the heart. But before they said I break down anything, they really want me to deal with this good and evil concept. Did you know that there are some snakes that when they bite you, the only way to quote unquote reverse the venom from killing you is to actually use the venom itself? You see how nature I'm gonna say all the time, has nothing to do with our humanity and what we consider good or evil. So basically, let's say you're in the dark path. If you're in the dark path and you no matter if you're getting your money, you're doing right or wrong, whatever you're doing, if you built yourself up, you might not like change. Let's say you're a healer and you getting clients, you healing people, you healing babies and all that, whatever. If you build yourself up, you might not like change. You see, change comes from nature, and there are certain concepts in nature that will be evil to both that had nothing to do really with the humanity or whatever the person thought they were doing. And this is why when you look to movies like Batman, what they're trying to show you in many aspects, the superhero and the villain, they're the same. They're both motivated by the same reasons, which is nature. So when you watch Batman, there's always a scene where the villain, whether it's Joker, whoever, they sat down with Batman. They're like, look, Batman, I ain't really got no smoke with you because we the same. And what he's saying is we motivated by the same reasons. We both just doing this because we think that we're right. We both just, just trying to make the best reality that we both, know. So at the end of the day, we just represent two different parts of nature, which is natural that are going to fight with each other. But you ain't really that much of a bad guy. See, that's some deep science right there. So one more example, and then I'm gonna get back to the Papa Legba. Basically, let's say you're a Navy SEAL, or let's say you go to let's say how we be when you're in the hood and you see a lot of guys, they brag about shooting guns. They like, look, man, I'm a bad motherfucker, man. I'll kill these people because I grew up in LA, on the block and stuff like that. Blood, Crip, Suwu, whatever. And I just smoked this dude. If you get emotional or tied into anything, whether it's bad, good, killing, right or wrong, you're not gonna be able to get this greater truth. Now, who you think gonna be much more of an efficient killer? A Navy SEAL? Somebody that ain't emotional, that's just looking at what works through nature? Okay, this kills him. This how I'll get more than one of them. Or somebody bragging, but really not looking to the nature, but really fighting himself because it's some part of killing that he don't like. Otherwise, he would just say, hey, it's a part of nature. So if I'm going to do this job because this is what my nature speaks to, I might as well learn how to do it in an efficient way. Now, I learned this next saying from, of course, Eastern mysticism. But Papa Legba wanted me to say this too. Water in the belly of a cow creates milk, but water in the belly of a snake creates venom. So what he's trying to say basically is all religion, dark path, light path, is bullshit. Because if you look into your ego, anytime you're gonna be wrong. because that's all you're gonna see is what you wanna see, instead of seeing this force causes this and this force causes this. Your body ain't got nothing to do with no damn dark or light. I don't give a fuck if you're the darkest Bokor or whatever, or you're the greatest healer in the world. Your heart works like this. There are already constants in nature that supersede humanity. It's called a cosmic evil, if you will. Now, I'm not going to get too much into this cosmic evil and all that. I might do a broadcast on that and cosmic understanding, but I'm going to stay right here with the Loa. Now, what are some of the properties of Loa? The Loa Papa Legba, since I laid that down for you. Well, for starters, he's wise. And once again, he wants you to see that in a dual nature, the better, for better or for worse, just depending on your experience. What are the good things about being wise? If you're wise, you usually don't just jump out the bridge or jump out the window doing shit. You're not all off into space. You usually take the best of what you know and apply it, like conventional wisdom. Those are excellent attributes. Well, in the same sense, what are some of the bad things about that Papa Legba spirit? You're wise, and if you think you know so much and you're introduced with change, you might start to fight it. Whether it's bad, good, whatever, you're gonna fight it. Now, we're gonna go to the next one. He's compassionate. And I'm sure you can see that you instantly are starting to get where I'm going with this. You could be compassionate, and actually it could be a good thing. If you're compassionate about stuff that's in line with nature, that it actually can help you and actually can help you grow as an individual. But what if you get too emotional and you're too compassionate about stuff that's destructive towards your own building yourself up, no matter what you're doing? You see how all things have a dual nature that have nothing to do with good or evil. He's forgiving. You see the good and the bad in that. You forgive the people you're supposed to forgive, but then you can forgive the people you're not supposed to forgive. Very judgmental. And of course, I can go on about that, but I'm not. You're getting it. He's stubborn. And of course, sometimes, ironically, it can be good to be stubborn. If you know something and you know it with your heart and nature, why you shouldn't do something because it'll fuck up your whole setup or fuck up what you got going on, you should stick to what you know. You should be stubborn. But then, in the same sense, if you're the wise, all-knowing Papa Legba, being stubborn, and it's actually something that could be beneficial, but you ain't trying to hear it, now you're running into problems again. And he's usually very, very, very people-oriented. And I'm sure you can find, the good and bad with that. What are some of the career paths of Papa Legba? Well, Papa Legba, for starters, is a great, great teacher. And of course, this is because they really like to learn hands-on by bumping their head. This is why a lot of people, like I have a friend, his Loa that walks with him is Papa Legba. Even though he's not a voodoo initiate, he actually, quote unquote, he's always into shit, like getting himself hurt, because they like to learn through experience. You'll tell them not to do something and they'll do that shit anyway. They're excellent elders. This is like the prodigal or the perfect elder, because he's the guy that got his ass whooped literally by nature, his whole experience. And so he just becomes this all-wise being when he gets older. That's wise behind what we would call much of our, normal understanding. But they're not great young leaders because of this behavior, usually, because they're always out there experiencing and trying to understand, because they're always trying to know more than they understand. So they're always seeking to know more than they understand. What does that mean? It's impossible for you to know more than you understand. So let's say it's a new situation, or you're trying to get into something. If you don't know any damn thing, whether it's good, bad, whatever you're doing, and you don't truly understand it, but you think that you know, you're gonna find out that you just were fed information, and it really doesn't work like that in practicality. And so this is gonna tie right back to that, why sometimes that wisdom, or what they think is wisdom, which is still gonna be based on their experience, it could ultimately hurt them. They're excellent artists because they're able to see the humanity, of course, the good and bad in people generally. And they also see the humanity in nature. So they're able to paint like this crazy mosaic, sort of hodgepodge of just the beauty of just village life, of just city life, wherever they live. They see the beauty in it. And they're excellent liaisons. They usually are good at bringing people together. Because once again, they don't give a fuck if y'all the most fucked up individuals or y'all the best individuals. They just know how to get people to mesh well to get shit, to get stuff popping. Now, they're excellent on discipline, last but not least. What does this mean? Well, they stick to the code once they got something, because it goes right back into the stubborn and also the wise. But in the same sense, if they're not taught to look for the right things to discipline, then you see how that can hurt them in the long run too. What are some of the powers of Papa Legba? Well, Papa Legba generally, and this everybody knows this, he has the power to open roads. But just as the inverse or the opposite, he has the power to close roads. So you have to remember that one of the crazy thing about Papa Legba, he usually teaches by lessons. This is one of the things that, a lot of people really don't talk about, because they'll, or they do talk about it, but they usually talk about it in a bad way. They'll be like, man, you won't believe what happened with me. There's so many stories like this in the voodoo community, whether it's New Orleans or whatever. Oh, I tried to call on Papa Legba and I asked for this and then I got fucked up like this. Well, he usually he's going off of what motivated you to want that anyway. Like I think I said in another broadcast, you might have never felt comfortable in your house, so you might want to say, oh, I need a mansion to feel comfortable. But then he'll still somehow, the way nature works, because you can't run from your traumas, your childhood is still gonna come back somewhere, and then it'll balance itself out. So you might be in your mansion, you might get it and say, man, I got this mansion, but for some reason I feel empty. Like that's how he usually teaches. He usually teaches through experience and definitely through lessons. Of course, he deals with death. Just the understanding of death and just the overall understanding of death and life within nature. There are a lot of things that happen to us, like people get killed, what we call prematurely, or they say the good die young. But what Papa Legba wants to show you is there are no mistakes, there are no coincidences. And every time that we start to think that we quote unquote know more than what actually happened, or try to make something bigger than what actually happened, all we're doing is basically saying we still don't understand nature. So that person, I always give this example. Let's say, this just show you how petty and religious we could be when it comes to talking about life, death, and spiritual matters. Let's say a person's riding on the highway and they got it's a mother and she has a car full of her babies. She riding down the highway. Let's say if a diesel flips and she narrowly makes it out the way. Well, a lot of people will say, well, that was God, or that was, that was blah, blah, whatever God, whatever. But let's say since the fact she narrowly made it out of the way, she swerved, but then somebody behind her ended up getting killed. You see how a lot of things we have to just say, it's just what we think is good and bad is based on what we think is we getting good out of it, getting good out of it in that particular situation. You might do an exercise for 2 months and say, man, this is really shaping up my calves or something. But then 5 years later, you might find out that that's also what's helping to break down your bones. Now it seems like I'm all over the place, but what I'm trying to get you to understand, most of what we think is good and bad in our lives is just based on experiences we've already had, but have nothing to do with cause and effect of nature. And this is why we need to continually look to cause and effect, so we can get a greater understanding of what's going to be in line with our nature, not for better or supposedly worse, but just to help us have the experiences that we're supposed to have. And of course, last but not least, he deals with healing. Now, Papa Legba, once again, heals you by experience. If you ever hear a lot of people, and this is kind of like, known in the medical community all over the world, that when you worry about things, you pretty much are you can make your body sick. You can kind of shape your reality being depressed and put you in a death-like mind state. Well, this is true. And this is basically, you're not dealing with a problem, a causal force through nature, so it's just surrounding you in all aspects. This is what I keep talking about in the ego. So what would Papa Legba do for, it doesn't matter how the situation will manifest, he would ultimately allow you to deal with that problem, even if it's, let's say you broke your arm. Like, it's not that the Loa are limited. The Loa are not limited in any capacity. You come to them, they could do anything they want. I have videos where that you see people being healed and their arms growing back. I got a video which I'm gonna post if I can find it. I might post it in this video, where a man is literally killed and brought back to life. Like, you could do some what we would call impossible things with Vodou, and it just shows you all things are possible. But Papa Legba cares not. He cares more so what is your experience. Like, it's not about whether you were born with one eye or you're born what we will conceive as retarded. It's more about nature and what it wants in order to balance itself out so we can continue our evolution as a species. So this is pretty much all the things that you need to know about Papa Legba. I don't place colors and days and stuff like that, because at the end of the day, another thing Papa Legba said to me, no man can seek the truth. The truth must find you. And only thing you have to do is just learn to accept it, because it's always going to be right in front of your face. So this is what we have to get into and just understand. There's no need for you to try to walk around telling what we would call secrets in Vodou, or getting you into the colors, or teach you how to make a Vodou altar. If you're gonna, Papa Legba is gonna find you, he'll find you. Don't worry, because this is all meant to happen. And of course, he's actually the main masculine spirit that you would call through Vodou ceremonies. And of course, if it's going to be a petrol rite, you might start the ceremony with a petrol form, or it just depends. It's going to really go down to the cult, but generally people who walk the old way, this is how they do it. And of course, depending on what cult and which neighborhood, I mean not really neighborhood, which society you grew up in, it might change. And so that's pretty much it on Papa Legba. And that's about all is that he wants to say, because he's actually helping me speak as I'm speaking right now. That's why I'm always kind of stuttering. Even though I don't stutter in real life, I'm actually I'm able to speak very well and articulate my sentences, obviously. But when it comes to channeling, sometimes I get caught up in between. So, all right, man. Thank y'all for watching this video. And definitely like, comment, and subscribe. Stay tuned. We got some amazing content coming this week. I'm going to be letting like an ancient Egyptian priest possess me. And basically he's going to break down game of, on old Egypt and what can we do, especially for these Hotep brothers, to get them to get out of just the religion and taking the actual parts that can help build us and combining it with what's going on right now and moving forward. So we're going to be doing that. I got another video later on today I'm going to be dropping on Erzuli. And then after that, I'm going to drop a video. I'm going to teach you how to have clairvoyance. You don't need a lot of these guys to have clairvoyance. Now, if you want to pay me, I could show you a deeper level of clairvoyance based on your nature. Because, of course, everything has to be learned through your nature. But just simple clairvoyance, I could just break it down. Now, that's pretty much it. So thank you once again. Thank you for tuning into the channel.